Good morning. So I've spoken for you all many times, but I think there's a story that you haven't heard. So I went to school at UCF in Orlando, Florida, go Knights, and graduated with a bachelor's degree in, you ready? Psychology. Yes, it means I'm reading all of you right now. And some of you were voluntold to be here this morning. And some of you volunteered, and I'm glad to have all of you. So when I graduated with my degree in psychology, I went out into the workforce. This was late 90s when a massive recession was on. And no one told me in my 4 years of getting that psychology degree, hey, Meredith, you can't get a job with that. Well, I was too worn out and tired of school to go back to school and get the master's degree that I needed to actually work in my field. So I ended up in sales in the healthcare industry. It was not a great job. The only thing great about it was I met the love of my life, Alan Oliver, one day at a physician's practice where he was working. But otherwise, it was terrible. So one day, my dad comes to me, brings me a newspaper ad. This is how old this story is. Brings me a newspaper ad for a corporate communications and technology master's degree from Rollins College. And I'll never forget what he said. He goes, Meredith, this degree, this is in the internet. He goes, I think that's going to be something. Good job, Dad. Good job. So I applied, I got accepted, and on my very first day of graduate school at the Executive Crummer Business School of Rollins College, they hand me this sexy beast of a laptop. This is a compact Armada. It is 5 inches thick and weighs 12 pounds. I am not kidding. You could probably seriously injure your foot if you dropped this computer on your foot. So they say, okay, welcome to class. Everybody, fire up your laptop, go to My Documents, and find today's syllabus. The My Whatsy Whats. I'm thinking, remember, this is about 1997. The thingamajobby whatsy thingy. And that's when it hit me. I had just enrolled, been accepted, to a 2-year, $40,000 executive master's degree in the internet, and I couldn't operate a basic laptop computer. I still had a bag phone in my car. Does anybody remember those? You see, my job at the healthcare company, we worked on their mainframe computers, and everything was their proprietary software. And the millennials are like, if you keep using all that technical language, we don't really know what you're talking about. But in fact, that's what it was like. So at this point, I'm inconsolable. First day, this is a disaster. I come home and I tell Alan, my new husband, I can't do this. I'm going to have to quit. He's like, well, you're kind of already committed. I'm like, well, I don't know what else to do because this is not going to work. I can't do this. I can't even operate the computer. I'm just going to quit. I wake up the next morning to find this Post-it note on my laptop. C equals My Documents. A equals, for those of you that remember, what does A equal? You could go like this with it, floppy disk, right? A equals floppy disk. You're gonna do great. And I look at him and I go, so I'm not quitting? He's like, no, you're going back to class. I get back to class that day and I'm like, oh yeah, now I know where my documents are. I am hot stuff. And that's when they said, okay, now we need you to go to the J drive and find the shared network application, log in with your password. And then I thought, oh, we're going to need a lot more Post-it notes. I found myself at a crossroads with that degree. And basically that computer was standing between me and the future that I had envisioned for myself. And you may find yourself in a similar situation today. And this type of talk is really what I call choose your own adventure. Because you can choose today whether you want to apply this personally. Maybe you're at a crossroads personally where you are thinking about an important relationship, or you're ready to stop smoking, or you want to lose weight. Or maybe you're going to think about it professionally, and you want to think about, how am I going to get to that next level in my career? Or how am I going to deal with that boss that I hate and I'm pretty sure hates me? So however you want to think about this today, that's your opportunity. Because when you find yourself standing at the precipice of a crossroad, you're going to have a lot of feelings about it. And the main feeling I felt with this degree was fear, right? Now, here's the thing about fear that's interesting, and now I'm actually going to get to use my psychology degree. Psychologists will tell you that whether you are sad, whether you are angry, frustrated, it doesn't matter what feeling you are feeling. Most of the time, what underlies that feeling is actually what? Tell me. Fear. And when fear strikes, our initial reaction is to forget everything and run, right? That's what we'd like to do. That's what we'd like to do. Forget everything and run. But what if I could teach you a mental power tool today based on the science of cognitive reframing, that when you find yourself at a crossroad, instead of forget everything and run, you face everything and rise. That's your opportunity. We can't control what happens to us. We can only control what? How we respond to it. But here's the thing. Do you want to know why you respond the way you respond? Here goes my degree again. The reason you respond the way you do is because of how you view the frame with which you view the situation. If we can change the way you view it, the frame with which you see it, then you have the opportunity to actually change how you think about it, how you feel about it, and ultimately what you do about it. So the promise today is to help you get unstuck from whatever crossroad you currently find yourself, so that you can be more agile, you can be more innovative, you can be more creative. Maybe you're facing a major change in your life, and you need to be able to embrace that and run with it. That's what we're going to learn. I'm going to teach you the science quickly of cognitive reframing. And basically what that is how you can learn to view any situation, relationship, person, challenge, adversity, anything that you've either been through, are going through, or will go through. You can learn to view it in a way that is productive and helps you get unstuck. How many of you have been to one of those 3D rides at an amusement park? Anybody have one? Yeah. What are some of the popular ones that are out right now? I think Star Wars has one going. What else? What are some of the ones you've been on? Yeah, Jurassic Park's got a great one. I think I did a Godzilla one maybe, right? So here's the thing. Here's what happens. You get on the ride, they hand out the glasses. You put the glasses on too soon, and then there's nothing to see. And you're like, oh, that's stupid. So then you take the glasses off. Then the ride starts, and you forget to put your glasses back on, and you're like, wow, this is a hot mess. I don't get it. And the minute you put the 3D glasses on, the whole ride, the experience, all begins to click into place, right? That's what cognitive reframing does for any situation, relationship, or challenge you're facing. Once you change the way you view it, it's like you've put the 3D glasses on the ride and the whole thing comes together. So the name of my mental power tool is aptly Control, Alt, Delete. No, Control, Alt, Delete. Sometimes we need to Control, Alt, Delete kind of silly things. You know, how many of you have shown up at work in 2 different pairs of shoes? Or you drove off in the morning with the Starbucks, $4 Starbucks on top of the car and didn't get it. And that kind of stuff hits us. Oh, somebody's done that over here. That kind of thing happens, these little silly things, and it can really take over your day, right? Would you like to hear my most embarrassing, silly, ridiculous thing? Would everyone like to hear my humiliation? I will tell you the answer is yes. Okay. So several years ago, I'm at the National Speakers Association's annual conference in San Diego. This conference is the World Championship Super Bowl of professional speaking. And I'll be vulnerable enough to admit to you that on this particular day, first day of the conference, I'm feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome. So because I'm so busy in my head having a view of imposter syndrome, I'm wandering around the property and I'm really not paying attention. I decide to get on an escalator to go from the lobby level to the meeting room level, one level down. I step onto the escalator, still looking up here at the beautiful Hilton and Hyatt and thinking to myself, I don't know if I should be here. And that's when I feel it. A tug. You see, I am wearing a floor-length maxi skirt. And as the escalator begins to go down, one step at the time, my skirt is going with it. The bottom of my skirt has become intertwined into the bottom belt of the escalator. Oh, yeah. And we are going down, and so is my skirt. In this moment, my life flashes before my eyes. My career flashes before my eyes. My reputation, my size extra large, 2-for-1, granny panties from Walmart flash before my eyes. And I'm thinking I am about to be defrocked at the annual National Speakers Association's conference. This is when I start pulling. So about the time I get to the bottom, I grab a hold of that maxi skirt and I get that fabric and I begin to pull. And I begin to pull with all the strength of the women who have come before me. And I rip that skirt right out of that escalator, leaving a chunk of it in the bottom of the escalator belt. And my skirt looked like Jaws had attacked me. And there was a giant chunk out. I land at the bottom. No one can see the granny panties. And I look around. No one's seen it. All of this. I didn't know whether to be disappointed because of my victory or thankful that my near humiliation had not been seen. Here's your challenge. Here's a thought for you, right? There are times when people in your organization are going to make these silly kind of mistakes. Stuff that doesn't really matter. Maybe it's super embarrassing to them, but it's not that important. What kind of culture do you have? Do you allow people to control, alt, delete, reboot, get over it, move on, right? Because the truth of the matter is the National Speakers Association is such a loving, amazing group of people that if they had all seen it, they would have hugged and probably given me a standing ovation. Because that's the kind of people they are. So sometimes silly things happen because we're not in the right mindset. But then honestly, some of you this morning are facing some really serious things. And whether it's a healthcare challenge or a relationship challenge or a financial challenge or a career challenge, you really are in a difficult place and you really do have this crossroads. Let me tell you the story of Marcus Bullock. I'm working in my office one day, and I hear this deep, powerful voice coming out of my television. So I look up, and I hear this voice say, When I was in C12, when I was in cell C12 in maximum security prison, I would have never, ever thought I'd be standing at a podium at the White House. Well, that made me look up. It was a press conference for the Second Chance Act. You see, at 15 years old, Marcus Bullock was arrested for hijacking a car with a firearm. It's the only trouble he's ever had. He was a straight-A kid, awesome kid, great family, made one horrible, horrible choice and landed himself with an 8-year sentence at an adult maximum security prison at 15 years old. His mother would come to visit him and saw that he was going into a very dark place. It was getting worse. His attitude, who he was hanging out with, what was happening in prison. So she made him a promise. She said, Marcus, I am going to write you a letter. I am going to write you a letter every single day you are here. I'm going to make this commitment to you. I will be here once a week, but every single day you will receive a letter from me. And my letters, this was his quote, will be your window to the world, your reframe, to show you that there is light in this world, even though you are currently in a very dark place. Marcus ended up serving 6 years instead of 8, got out, got a job, thank goodness, was able to get one as a landscaping person, then went on to own the company, and then went on to found a company by the name of Flick Shop. It is an app that families of inmates can use to mail postcards to people serving time in prison. His app has served hundreds upon hundreds of thousands. And when the president wanted a spokesperson for the Second Chance Act, Marcus stood at the podium at the White House because his mother reframed his view of where he was. So you could be sitting here today as someone who is very naturally good at this. Maybe you Control-Alt-Delete on a dime, not a problem. You can do it, no problem. Then your challenge is to learn to teach others, to lead others, to help reframe others, like Alan did for me with that Post-it note, right? Sometimes that you have to be that person for them. So what happens is life happens, right? Life happens, things happen, we can't control what happens to us, but we can learn to reframe it, and when we do, we'll have these amazing rise up moments. So let's start with control. Step 1, control your frame. All right, so here's how this works. You have to get out from underneath the covers. For most people, in order to change how you view something, you've got to get brutally honest. You have to take a look at the situation, at the adversity, at the person, at the relationship, whatever it is, you have to be willing to go there. Brutally honest. And say to yourself, what about this is not working for me? What about this situation is not serving me? What about this is keeping me stuck? And really just looking in that mirror to say, I am stuck. I'm stuck. Okay, I own it. I'm stuck. Right? Because this is where most of us, we won't go here. We won't take that honest look at it to be able to move us forward. I love this picture. Don't you guys love this picture? The power of that little kitten just looking in the mirror and seeing this. I hate to admit it, but I'm getting closer to 50 every day. I know it's hard to believe, right? I have very good products. I apply them liberally and often. As I get closer to 50, and those of you that also get closer to 50, this strange phenomenon happens to us ladies. We begin to develop a little chin hair. Right? You don't have to raise your hand. It's okay. I have progressive lenses in, so I can see it from here. And then you gentlemen, as you guys age, you begin to develop a little bit of what? Well, you got a little ear hair going on here. Why am I bringing up inappropriate facial hair? Because here's the thing. You got to take care of that. How many of you go to the hotel bathrooms with the fancy hotels and they have the magnification mirrors and you're like, oh, no. I ain't looking in that sucker. I know who you are, you avoiders, you. You got to look in the mirror. You could have a prairie going on here, people. Get in the mirror. Take care of that business. So that's your first basic piece of homework. If you need it, go get yourself a magnification mirror, and I triple, double, dog dare you to look in it and see what's really going on here and handle it, people. Handle it. The power's in the vulnerability. A couple of weeks ago, Andrew Luck stunned the world with his announcement that at 29 years old, an NFL franchise quarterback that they spent bajillions of dollars on was retiring. And I didn't think much of the story at the time until I heard the press conference. And here's what he had to say. He said, I felt stuck in it. And the only way I see out is to no longer play football. It's taken my joy away from the game. And by it, he's referring to the 4 years of constant pain, in season and off season. I've been stuck in this process of playing in pain for years. The only way forward for me is to remove myself from the game. I'm at a fork in the road, and I made a vow to choose myself if it ever happened again. So you see him standing here, and what did he have to decide? He had to get vulnerable enough to say, I mean, he's 29 years old. He's probably been working on achieving that status literally 20 years. It starts very young to become a franchise quarterback, right? And 20 years of investment that he's made and his parents made and his wife's made. And he walked away from it because he got vulnerable enough to say, this isn't working. So what do you want to change this morning? What frame, step one, do you need to get control of? Right? So we have a lot of salespeople here, and we can talk about it in terms of sales if we like. Is there a particular skill that you want to get better at? You know you don't ask closing questions. You know you need to get better at networking or prospecting. You know you need to be using social media more effectively to build your sphere of influence, but you're not doing it. Or, for some of you, maybe it's an attitude. You've got skills, mad skills for days. You could do any of it if you wanted to, if you were motivated to, if you felt excited to. For some of you, basic optimism, looking at glass half full, is something you need to change and focus on. Or is it a behavior? When you're thinking about change and wanting to improve yourself, I find it very helpful to break things into these three categories. Is it simply a skill issue? If it's a skill issue, read a book, go to class, get a mentor. Ask a peer who's really already good at that, and you can knock that right out. When it's an attitude or a behavior you want to change, it takes a bit more work. So what is it that you want to focus on? When you're doing this, once you pick your focus skill, your focus attitude or behavior, this is the very basic Psychology 101, folks. This is called the feeling, thinking, behavior triangle. This is as basic as it gets. And you ask yourself, okay, I want to become better at, and you pick your focus. Let's say it's follow-up. I want to follow up with folks that come in my model home more consistently, and I want to be better at it. So how do I feel about follow-up? I feel what? And this is where you got to be brutally honest. Don't give me the cliches. I feel it's a complete waste of time because no one ever calls me back. That's the kind of brutal honesty I'm looking for here. So therefore, I think what about it? So I think, why bother? I tell myself, it's not really going to help me. It's not really going to increase my conversion rates. So I don't. So then my behavior is, I don't do it. You see, our feelings drive our thoughts, and our thoughts drive our behaviors. So get brutally honest with yourself wherever you find yourself stuck and run yourself through. I feel this way about it. I think this. And then here's what I do as a result. But you have to work through the process and really own where you are right now. Here's where I am. Some of us are so scared to own where we are right now. Because if we own it, it makes it what? It makes it real. So I was giving this talk in Atlanta last week, and a woman came up at the end, and she goes, my father-in-law just had a widow-maker heart attack and survived. And I go, really? What's that about? She goes, well, the doctors had been telling him for months, you've got blockages. You need to change your diet. You need to get some exercise. You need to get moving. And particularly with health things, when we act on the things, advice people gives us, it makes it real, and we'd like to rather ignore it, right? But thank goodness, at the GI visit, they said, you are going from here to the emergency room. And he listened, got to the emergency room, and fell down on the floor of the emergency room, had a widowmaker heart attack, but survived only because he had acted on the advice. I know you all have stories like that too, right? There's two voices in our head all the time. There's voice A and there's voice B. Voice A are the things we know we need to do, the changes we know we need to make. It's listening and doing the things we know we need to. And then there's voice B where we just ignore it. We forget everything and run, fear. And it's when we stay here that we get into trouble. So our alternate frame is to change your feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. So, okay, I've owned this is how I feel about it. This is how I currently think. This is what I currently do, but I'd really like to change that. So here's where we find an alternate view. So you have to challenge your feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. Ask yourself or ask a trusted friend what else is true. So I'll use the example of me and the laptop. I say to Alan, I can't complete this master's degree. I am going to fail. I am going to lose our $40,000 and be a complete failure. And he looked at me and said, you just didn't know where the hard drive was. Like the answer was simple. It was small. What else is true? So to circumvent your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, stick to the facts. In the alternate stage, when you're wanting to change your view, make a list of facts. Facts are quantifiable things that can be proven, statements that can be proven. It is 91 degrees outside. That is a fact. It is hotter than the 7th level of hell. That's not a fact. That's your thought. That's your feeling. But that's not a fact. Are you with me? When you get more factual about the situation, the fact is, if you learn this skill and this skill, you can go back to class. And then when you get there and you get the next skill, we'll go back and we'll tackle that one at the time. So make a list of the facts and then challenge them. List them both positive and negative, and then ask yourself one more time, what else is true? A statement like, my boss hates me, is not a fact. It's not. The fact is, your boss called you in, you had a performance review. Out of a 1 to 10 scale, you scored between 7 and 10 on most of the line items, which is considered good. And on one area out of all the things on the piece of paper, you scored in the middle where this person sees room for improvement. You see what I did there? That's a list of facts. Not, they hate me, they will never promote me, I will never go anywhere, I should quit and crawl in a hole and die. That's not a fact. So to get an alternate frame, the key is to get the facts. You pick one fact. Get your list, and you pick one. And this is going to be the way you're going to view this situation moving forward. You're going to pick one fact, and you're going to move forward. Let me give you an example. This is my son, Brady Oliver. Isn't he cute? Aww. He's adorable in this picture, isn't he? Right? So here's the thing. Here are the facts about my son, Brady Oliver. Brady is 11 years old. He's in the 6th grade. Brady is ADHD off the chart. If this is the chart, Brady's up here. When they diagnosed him with ADHD, they did an eye tracking test where they asked him for 15 minutes, we want you to follow a pattern on the screen. We want you to answer a series of questions on the screen, and then we'll get your results. And then they print it out. And when they print it out, it looks a bit like a Rorschach kind of splatter thing. And it just shows everywhere his eyes were, whatever. The average piece of paper, kind of, Okay, here's Brady's. You ready? I mean, this kid, all right? We do medication. We do ADHD therapy. I mean, we do everything. All the tools that it takes to make this kid, because he's brilliant, and he's amazing, and he's wonderful. So he was in school at Briar Creek Elementary up until the 4th grade. At the end of the 4th grade, we got his EOG. Are you familiar with the EOGs, end of grade tests? Now, Brady had worked incredibly hard for those EOGs. And we expected him to get about middle of the road scores, and we were going to celebrate and be thrilled with that. So I had no thought of opening up the envelope with the EOG scores when it came with him standing right there in the kitchen with me. So I open up the envelope, and sure enough, Brady has scored dead center on the EOGs. I mean, woo, go, buddy. That is fabulous. We are going to celebrate. Ice cream for everybody. This is awesome. And that's when I scanned down the page. And on this piece of paper from the Wake County Public School System, it says, on track for college and career readiness, no, in capital letters. No. Can you imagine? He looks at me and he goes, Mommy, I'm not going to college? He goes, they don't think I'm college material? You see, in our house, we talk about college all the time. College is a thing we do. College is something we're excited about. So I had a choice to make. Crossroad. Thank goodness reframing is my superpower. Because in a split second, I thought to myself, what are the facts? In a split second, I thought, Alt, change the frame. What are the facts? So I thought, and I looked at Brady, and I said, Brady, can a piece of paper, when you're 10 years old at the time, can a piece of paper tell you whether you're going to go to college or not? No, Mommy. I said, does a piece of paper determine what happens to you? No. I said, does Brady Oliver get to decide what happens moving forward? Yes. Yes, he does. So shortly thereafter, Alan and I made the decision that this school was no longer serving him. This was not working. And we'd known it wasn't working for some time, but I hadn't done anything about it. So we enrolled him starting in 5th grade, he's now in 6th, at Bethesda Christian Academy. And I am very, very pleased to tell you that within 2 weeks of being a new student at Bethesda Christian Academy, he was Super Reader of the Week with a yard sign. And I am pleased to tell you that every single 9 weeks in 5th grade, Brady Oliver was AB honor roll. Yeah. Yeah. And I said to him, he got home from school one day, and I said, Brady, I sort of did something. What'd you do now, Mom? I might have posted this on Facebook. And he goes, you know what, Mom? It's okay. He goes, you tell my story. He goes, because if that was some other kid, it might have crushed their dream. Wow. And now, every single day he gets home, Alan picks him up. I love my school. I love school. I love my school. You see, I had a choice to make. And the choice I made was, instead of storming the gates of Wake County Public Schools and calling them every single name in the book and going Mama Bear postal on them, which I wanted to do, I decided to view that situation as they did me a what? They did me a favor. They did me a favor because I knew it hadn't been working. Brady was stuck, and I, out of fear of how would I pay for private school, had not done anything about it. But Wake County Public Schools did me a favor. That's an alt view. That's my one fact. I pick that fact and I move on with it. You see how it works? It can work for you too. The moment you pick a new fact and you go from a factual point of view, you shift from a victim, this is happening to me, this is so awful, my world sucks, to I am a problem solver. What can be done about this based on your new fact? And then last, step 3, is you have to learn to delete the frame that is no longer serving you. I know a lot about having a victim frame. I'll tell you more about that story as we get towards the end. But I can tell you that when you run through life as if everything's happening to you, you have no control over it, you are the victim of everything, it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve you. And whatever frame your default way of how you see life, it may not be serving you. But in order to change it, you actually got to delete it. So you control, then you find the alt, then you delete. Well, how do you do that? Well, I like to do that through reminders. I like tangible reminders. So, how many of you have seen little ads on Facebook or Instagram for something called the Upright Go? Has anybody seen it? Okay. So if you haven't seen it, what it is, the Upright Go is a posture training device. So I have had horrible posture my entire life. This horrible posture my entire life. And it has led to a lot of lower back pain. By the summer when we were trying to move, I was wearing a support brace. I mean, it was not a good look. So I finally decided, Meredith, frame. I got to do something about this. So this ad pops up, and I buy one. And it's this little white device that you see between her shoulder blades. Do you see it in the picture? So it's this little white device that you put right between your shoulder blades. It connects to an app on your phone, and it tracks your posture. Here is my posture on day 1 of wearing the Upright Go. I am 74% slouched and 26% upright. It's amazing I was even alive. Right? I might as well have been dead with this. Okay, so you wear this thing. Now it has 2 modes. It has tracking mode, where it just simply shows you what you're doing all day long and what's happening. Or it has training mode. Oh, yeah. And in training mode, if your shoulders slump forward, you get a little zzz, zzz. Yeah, baby. I might be wearing it right now. So in 8 days of training mode and zzz, zzz, by day 7, I was 80% upright and only 20% slouched. And I will have you know that I'm now on like day 22, and I'm basically at like 95.5 upright slouched. It's totally working. It's amazing. I love it. $99. Okay, so if you want to change a behavior, a thought, a feeling, a frame, you need a reminder system. I like visual reminders. So one of the things that I love to do is I order these bands from a company called Mantra Bands. There was one particular year when I was really focusing, my theme for the year was, stop trying so hard. It's weird and it comes across fake, even though you're not fake. You're actually trying really hard, but you're trying too hard. So I ordered a mantra band that said, I am enough, and I wore it next to my watch for 365 days. And every single time I looked down at my Apple Watch, for whatever reason, there was my message. Having that visual reminder for me right on my arm is very helpful. Another thing I do also frequently are the Post-it notes right on the monitor of my computer, because then I know I'm going to see it constantly all day, and it just helps. The other thing you can do, of course, is block time out of your calendar or set alerts on your phone, kind of like the zzz, zzz. You can have an alert pop up once an hour, once a day, whatever you need to remind you to reboot your frame and get the new behavior going that you're looking to do. If you have a reframe story, something that you've faced in your life that you've overcome or worked through, or if you take this message away and you end up applying it or using it in some way, I sure would love to hear from you. It'll be completely confidential. Unlike Brady, I will not put it all over Facebook, Brady's story. It'll just be between you and me, but hello at Reframe today. I would love to hear your stories. I really would. They would mean the world to me. So I invite you to email me, start a dialogue about your reframe process. Yeah. When we face life's challenges, life happens. There's no way around that, is there? But when we choose to reframe, what happens is we have these, what I call, rise up moments. Rise up moments. Rise up moments are when amazing things happen to us and we never saw them coming. We just are like, are you serious? There are moments of joy, or moments of peace, or there are moments of accomplishment where you're like, wow. So I'll share one of mine with you. I've had many throughout my life. I'm so blessed. I'm such a lucky person. This is just one of them. In 1997, I was a finalist in the Miss Florida pageant. This is me singing a Puccini aria on statewide television in front of about 2,000 people. When I look at this picture, I don't think, oh, I was in a beauty pageant. I mean, they aren't even really cool anymore, right? But what I see when I look at this picture is somebody that worked 1 year to learn this aria. My voice teacher trained me one note at the time. I am not kidding you. We sang one note for an hour at the time for a year. And once we had it technically perfect, she challenged me to let go of the technical aspect of the aria and be in the moment with the audience and tell the story of the aria. And so when I look at these pictures, I see somebody in the moment, having a rise up moment that I would have never seen coming. I also see somebody who's really tan and really skinny, who could really not even put one leg into that swimsuit currently. And I also have to wonder, why is that dude wearing a chain belt? I mean, it's a mystery. None of us will really ever know. He was the guy that held the mic when you walked out and you said, hello, I'm Meredith Oliver, Miss Mount Dora. That was the mic guy with the chain belt. I don't really know what that's happening there. I really don't. In all seriousness, this rise up moment, I would have never seen coming. I was raised in a religious culture as a kid where women were seen and they were not heard. And they certainly did not wear swimsuits and high heels on television. To make matters more complicated, I'll be completely vulnerable and just tell you that within our family, we had a sexual predator, and I was one of his targets. So I dealt with that. But at 19 years old, when I walked onto the campus of UCF to get that psychology degree, I met up with a woman by the name of Linda Fishkind. Linda Fishkind was a counselor at the Free Counseling Center at UCF. I don't know what made me walk into her office that day, but something did. I started setting appointments, and 18 months later, Linda Fishkind had helped me reframe from victim, which I had every right to feel, but it wasn't serving me. Do you hear me? It wasn't serving me. It was forget everything and run. It wasn't face everything and rise. So here's the fork in the road. And Linda says to me, you know, I've got this dear friend by the name of Lisa Maley, and she trains actors and models and pageant people, and I know you sing opera music, and I know you'd be good at this. You should go audition. And I did. And 3 years later, as a finalist, won the Talent Award, paid for my education. I stood on the stage and sang the aria that I practiced for a year in the moment. Right? I don't know what you have going on today. All I know is that life happens. Health, financial, career. You got something going on. You're at a crossroads. When you can learn to control the frame, find an alternate frame, delete the one that's not serving you, you can indeed rise. So I'll leave you with two final thoughts. Number one, know that no matter where you are or what you're going through, I am your biggest fan. I am cheering you on as you face the challenges of life and the adversity that you face. I am your evangelist, and I am here to celebrate with you the moment your next rise up moment happens. And number two, and this is very, very important, bring it in. Never, ever, ever wear a thong on an escalator. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you.